Hello and welcome to another College Basketball Weekly powered by the Full Court Network. LT back in the saddle with my guy Sam. We are rested and rejuvenated after a lovely weekend in San Antonio. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're watching us on YouTube, press the subscribe button. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram and maybe even Facebook and whatever. Just don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, baby. Subscribe. So busy weekend, fun weekend. What are some of your favorite memories from the Final Four, the 2025 Final Four in San Antonio?
I mean, the three games were just off the charts. It's, you and I have kind of talked about this off air. A lot of backlash on the NCAA selection committee, and, their job is to get it right, pick the best teams who could, move forward, right? And all four number one seeds make it to the Final Four, right? Not a lot of upsets in the tournament.
No.
Which, as a fan perspective, you're kind of like, what's happening? It's supposed to be March Madness, Cinderella stories, all that. But kudos go out to the selection committee because they got it right, And but the three games we saw in San Antonio, just elite performances. I really do feel like we saw the four best teams in the country compete, and that's the word I'm going to use is compete, because all 40 minutes of each one of those games, it was just back and forth. I think all three games had really good comebacks, and I think that's the story of college basketball. There's never really like you're going to have streaks, you're going to have scoring trends, you're going to have defensive stops. And at the end of the day, it came down to the team that was playing the best. And that was Florida. I was blown away by the other three teams. Houston is, that is, Kelvin Sampson has a program. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
And you look at what he's built there over the past decade and the culture that he's put into that locker room and the practices and how they show up for the biggest games of these young people's careers. It is, they're diving for every ball. They're going.
They're dogs. They're dogs.
Dogs. It's watching Houston play. It's like you feel bad for the other team because every single missed shot, there's going to be elbows flown to get that rebound.
Do you feel bad for the Florida Gators?
No. Florida Gators. They've just been on a different level the second half of the year. You look at their postseason, right? Starting from the SEC tournament to what they achieved in the NCAA tournaments. That's 9 games, right? So when you look at the final KenPom rankings, this is what Florida accomplished in the postseason. They beat number 19 Missouri. They beat number 6 Alabama. They beat number 5 Tennessee. Then you move into the NCAA tournament. They play Norfolk State, which is a really good 16 team. UConn is the second worst team they played in the postseason. How wild is that at 32? And then they beat a Maryland team that finished number 10, Texas Tech that finished 9, Auburn that finished 4, and then Houston that finished 2nd. So that's 7 out of their last 9 games in the postseason run were all top 20 teams.
Yes.
That's historic.
Yes. You know what's historic is the Guadalajara Grill.
You love the Guadalajara Grill.
No,
it's
that's
all
the
good.
first time I've ever.
I tried to take you to Dwayne's, but that's a different story.
Yeah, well, we left, and that's the first time I've ever left after chips and salsa and one margarita. And you know what? I think my body's thanking me for it, especially my lower part.
There you go. A lot of good Tex-Mex down in San Antonio. I know you're a big Tex-Mex fan, but what was your biggest takeaway of the weekend?
You know what? Mine was. Oh man, I've got a couple. So
I want to start from the games. What was your kind of biggest takeaway from the games?
That Elijah Martin is built like a brick shithouse. That guy is stacked. Those 2 dunks he had in the semifinal games were ridiculous. I'm like the one where he just kept gliding and gliding and gliding. I thought he was going to turn it around and flip it up and lay it up. Dude, he just still dunked it.
I know. It's just athletes, man. So
Walter Clayton is he's a great kid. We've got a really good question I got to put up there. I'm going to put up there, probably before this airs, obviously. But yeah, just well spoken. And I look at the transfer portal. I mean, as you know, and you did too, but probably more so because I was there a day earlier. Is I talked to a lot of head coaches we've had on the show. And it was really cool just connecting with them. Even if it was for a couple minutes, somewhere longer, somewhere 15, 20-minute conversations, 25-minute conversations. We had a really good chat with Chris Holman. We're really excited about what DePaul is going to be doing. I saw Billy Donlin. I'm really excited what Clemson's going to do. But it's just crazy, just kind of the snippets I got and tidbits I got from regarding the transfer portal, NIL. The money that's being thrown around in NIL, pay for play, is whatever you want to call it, is ridiculous. It's stupid. I mean, it is just stupid and good for the kids. It's great for the kids. But I don't like these agents getting 20%. That's ridiculous. I was shocked. We're doing something wrong, Sammy D.
I know. I mean, what used to be a college coach's off season is now turned into offering season.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, you see these coaches at the NABC conference. It's, every coach is just working the phones nonstop. Every coach is.
Well, we saw that firsthand with Coach Holman.
Yeah. I mean, because everybody's, I don't want to use the word chase, but I mean, that's really what it is. They're chasing a roster right now because they don't want to get into the month of May and still have 4, 5, 6 spots to fill. And there's going to be programs just like last year that go into June and July that still have spots to fill. So I think when you look at these elite coaches, they want to finalize their roster as soon as possible, right? And sometimes that comes with, talking to a player or his agent, whatever it is, and then going back to your donor base, back to your major boosters and say, hey, I need an extra $100,000, or I need an extra $300,000.
I need an extra $1 million.
Whatever it is, I mean, that's really what it's coming down to.
Yep.
And, but these coaches are working harder than ever. During the Final Four and during the weeks after the transfer portal opens. And like you said, I mean, kudos to all the student athletes who are able to take advantage of this.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, at the same time, things need to change. Things will change in the next several years.
Will they?
I don't think it's all. I think where the biggest dilemma is everybody wants everything to change all at once, and I don't think that's the way this is going to work. I think you have to say, okay,
did you talk to my wife before this?
I didn't. Do I sound like her? It's everybody wants everything to change at once, and it's like something like this that where there's 5 or 6 variables that are really causing kind of the dismay in the transfer portal and NIL. It's like you really have to change 1 or 2 things each year to kind of get back to a status quo. And the easiest thing is to push back the transfer when the transfer portal opens, right? Everybody who we've spoken to agrees with that. I don't think there's anything novel or innovative about that idea. For me, it's just common sense. Seeing that. What I saw with all the coaches who were in San Antonio and the NABC conference and just seeing them on the streets and things like that, they are more relaxed this year, I feel like, than they were last year. Because I feel like last year was really kind of the first year where they had to deal with this. And now they're kind of like, hey, this is just how it is now. Right. And they're not going to let it ruin their mental health or their happiness or anything like that. They know their job, right? And it was a little bit more predictable this year because they've already gone through it, right? Yeah. So I did feel like there was a more relaxed vibe within these coaches, just talking freely about what's going on in the open market, right, with some of these players. And also some coaches just being like, I'm not going to participate in this crap.
i.e. Chris Crutchfield, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's some coaches who are basically like, hey, I'm building a culture at my school, and if one of your first couple questions is how much money do you have for me, it's going to be a short conversation, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of coaches, not just coaches trying to do the cultural aspect of it or cultural team building aspect of it. I mean, we talked to one assistant coach from a Power 5, and he said, was throwing out the number, and he's like, I'm almost hung up the Zoom phone call because it's ridiculous. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, things do have to change. Whether there's contracts, whether there's just pushing it back, shortening the transfer portal window, but. Yeah, I think overall it was a good year. I think there's a lot to be excited about for next season. It'll be interesting to see how, rosters are put together, schedules. I mean, I think that's a big thing we talked about a little bit and scratch the surface on with some of these coaches is just, out of season rosters. But the one I'm surprised about, and I'm kind of annoyed at, I'm going to find and hunt and do something to his front lawn is Alan Huss. He left High Point, man. We were going to go to High Point and get some Kit Kat bars this year.
We can still go to High Point next year. It's a beautiful campus. And, I think it's one of those things where Coach Huss's name was thrown out a lot. He did sign a contract extension as they moved into postseason, which is a well-deserved on his part. He's done an incredible job at High Point. And I think it's one of those situations where in the back of some people's minds, tell their families and their close friends, if this one job ever opens up, that's the job I'd leave for.
Well, I mean, and also too, he's a coach in waiting, but you made a good point. He played at Creighton. I mean, he loves Creighton. He was there for years as an assistant. He's good friends with Greg McDermott. But he still could have been coaching and waiting and still coached at High Point for another year or two, right?
I think so. I mean, I think it puts a question mark on what McDermott's plan is, right? I mean, if they're willing to do that, it's usually a 2-year window for that. You move, it's not an associate head coach position, it's coach in waiting. So it's they have started a transition plan away from McDermott. That's really what it is. And I feel like sometimes these coach and waiting positions, just to kind of ease fans' expectations and still to maintain consistent donors and boosters and season ticket sales and stuff like and recruits, I think they say oh yeah, it's a 2 to 3 year process. I would not be surprised if this was McDermott's last year.
Yeah.
This next season, right?
No.
Because I just, it is a succession plan. And, I'm going to give Creighton a lot of props for doing this. They have a succession plan for a program that McDermott's built, and they're not going to have to start. It's not going to be like a major announcement when he says, oh, I'm retiring at the end of this season. And the whole alumni base is like, okay, here's the top 5 candidates who's going to take over Creighton, It's
Darren DeVries in a year.
Right. But Creighton doesn't have to go through that process. Right. So really smart on their part. You want
to for High Point though, for
for a High Point, and it's the success they've had there the past 2 years. I think the timing really sucks more than anything. I think that they would have been able to find a really good replacement for Huss if this was done sooner. Right. I think they're still going to have a great program. I mean, they have the resources to do well in their conference.
Big South is great, though.
So it's going. I think they're going to be fine. I just think kind of the timing with all this sucks. I mean, it's you don't want your coach to leave in the middle of transfer portal.
Yeah. But you know who's happy about it?
Probably a lot of other coaches in that conference.
Mike Morrell,
right?
Mike Mo's excited. I'm gonna reach out to him after we get a soundbite from him.
Yeah.
But anything else you got, or we're just gonna keep it short and sweet?
No, let's keep it short and sweet, man. We got a lot of we're going to do a lot of short little episodes here the next few weeks. Basketball season really doesn't end, especially everything that's going on. We're going to keep you guys updated with some of our favorite programs over the next month or two with their transfer portal and how their rosters are coming along, and then hopefully the whole coaching carousel thing comes to an end here in the next few weeks.
Absolutely.
It's really happy for some of these coaches. A lot of them we've had on the show this past season. Super excited for these guys to get promoted into better divisions that have better conferences that have better resources. To see, a lot of these guys, you look at like a Ross Hodge. We're going to find out how good of a coach he is next year.
He's good. Yeah,
he's really good. He's one of the best defensive coaches in the country.
Yep.
We saw what defense can do with Houston, and I think you're going to kind of see that same kind of grit and blue collar mentality at West Virginia. I think West Virginia is going to be fine. I'm really excited about New Mexico as well. I think Eric Olin's done a terrific job his first 2 weeks on the job. And several other programs. You already mentioned DePaul. I mean, Holtman is working the transfer portal really well. I am so excited. The roster he's putting together with some of the names that have been announced the last week. Yeah, I mean, Chicago is going to have a basketball team to root for. And it just keeps getting better and better from what I'm seeing with Coach Holt.
And just wait. And Chicago's going to have another basketball team to root for, because this past week we had Rob Eshan from the UIC Flames. I'm excited. So I got two of my alma maters. I like it. I need to get one of those executive certificates from like Harvard or Howard or wherever, Gifford or Herding or whatever it is. But it's exciting time. Exciting time. Yeah. So, Sammy D, as always, we're going to take a week off of College Basketball Weekly. So my kid's vacation. We need a break. He needs to recover. I need to recover, and then we'll be back every week for the rest of the year. We're going to do some fun stuff, like Sammy said. We're going to have we're going to do some debating too. Get Sam and I fired up about certain topics and stuff. But don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're watching on YouTube, pound that subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, same thing, 5-star review. And we'll be back in 2 weeks on the College Basketball Weekly, powered by the Full Court Network.
Let's get it, LT. And if there's any topics that our fans want us to cover, shoot LT a message. He manages our X page. Shoot him a message on X.
Give it to you.
We'll talk about it. Let's get it, LT.
Bye, Felicia.